We can say Rishit is the one who was given money to Kaderia because on comparison of position between Rishit, manager and Marine, Rishit is in good position of giving money than the other manager and the Marine. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I stand here in front of the court to prove that Rishit is the one who lent money to Cardelia. And my stand is that according to the legally binding laws, right, Rishit is the only person between these three that is allowed to approve amounts that are more than a certain limit. Normally for smaller amounts, the managers can do it. She's not associated at all. But Rishit, as a partner of this association, PwC, he is the only person who has the capacity to write his signature down. And I have proof. Proof. This man signed the documents. Contracts dated May 2024. It was him. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much, Tim. Thank you. Stand right there. Right. If you are to choose who you believed here, who would you choose? Who? All right. And the team sitting here, do you still believe Rishit is the one who gave that money to Cardelia? All right. Is there any of you who has any different thoughts? Probably not. Right. Would you do, is there any other way you would do, you have not known what they have done to get to that position. Is there any other approach you would have taken? Mm-hmm.
Good morning. My name is Nasirite. Different to assuming that it was the partner who signed it off, I would, on another perspective, I would assume she's a, what? She's just like a normal employee, like a junior. Okay, I would assume it's a conspiracy between you two. Because in my assumption is a partner cannot just wake up one morning and make a decision independently. This is something that has to be discussed with others. So either he betrayed you or both of you are in it. Yeah.
It's people, it's a person out of us just giving money. It may not necessarily be illegal money. Some people got money to give, yeah? Right. Any other person who would do any different? Right. I'm going to Cardelia. Yeah, Cardelia. So tell us, who gave you money? Based on your records, who gave you money? Because we know it's one person.
For me, so for me, I have received the money from the manager.
Did you hear? All right. So what didn't you do? So Rishi didn't give that money. What didn't you do? Or where would you get the evidence of who gave money to Cardelia? All our financial statements are indicating I gave him money. He's the same thing. Rishit's the same. Yeah? As you're walking out, let me tell you something. You go then, and then you'll understand who I am, who we are here. Right, so no one thought about confirming with the one who received money, right? Because you have judges, when some of us have money, So you have speculated, you have assumed, but which is good because that is risk assessment. You have done your risk assessment and said, based on preliminary risk assessment, it cannot be. What's your name? By the Marilyn. It can't be. And then unfortunately it was me. Do I look like someone who has money? But it's maybe not because 2 billion is what we're talking about, yeah? So what I applaud you guys is you've done your risk assessment. But unfortunately, You did not execute properly. You have used ways that you didn't get the evidence. Okay, she created evidence, which is okay. But then, yeah, that person who's given money was just sitting right there. No one walked to confirm, but then who gave you that money, huh? So, you know who I am, which department, which line of service I come from? As a person who assured you, because of the confidence, yeah? She spoke about confidence. Now, when you're giving assurance, that is what, and you need to come out very clear with no, yani, hakuna scratches. Now, that is where we come from, yeah? That is but what our department mostly do, we give assurance, and sometimes it's not a full assurance, like, you know what, don't take me to court. By the way, we're not going to be taken to court. You hardly get to that. But at times, we come in to support certain things because we were part of reviewing things that we give assurance, yeah? You've heard a lot of scandals and whatever. There was an auditor and whatever. Either a firm has been fined or those things happen because they trust you give insurance. So that's where we come in.
You received the money, and then he said that I received it from the manager. That means they can sign confidently that we asked Cadelia, and he told us it's the manager, and we have seen that he has received money from the manager, therefore we are sure. That means what happens is that you go to jail, right? But on another scenario, what if that's not what happened? Like, the challenge that I'm trying to give is, how do you overcome a situation whereby you already said you have money, that's what you're going to take, and then you paid him again, like, let's say it was 1 billion, now you give him a bit extra, and you tell him this is to fabricate the documents that I didn't approve for you to have this money. Instead, we blame it on the partner. And then he also changes his statement. So all financial statements are fabricated to point out to it. But then remember, you have already signed that everything. You gave assurance that we went to ask Cadelia. Cadelia says it's the partner. We take the partner to jail. But in reality, he has actually been paid. So as a person who does assurance, how do you overcome such a scenario?
And that's the reality, depending on who you audit. So usually, for example, PwC doesn't audit everyone. First, we have to be comfortable. We do a background check, yeah? As an organization, every client here, you have record that we have done background check. You're coming, we're auditing, what is your source of funds? Where did you even start to get this business here for us? Whether it's directors, the organization, shareholders, whatever. So primary, that's one. You have to first tick. So that limits what is she saying? It reduces the risk of who we are dealing with, yeah? First, they talked about trust. The reason they're sitting together, they're friends, they trust each other. We have to first build that. We can actually trust you to work with. And then we come to even if you trust the directors, you trust the people behind all these transactions, they may not know, yeah? So now that's where it comes. So when I confirm with Cadelia, I don't go orally and say, depending on the risk, and tell Cadelia, please tell me who did. And then I say, oh, we asked to inquire. No. Inquiry may not be sufficient. So he has to write. When he writes that, we come and confirm. If I go back to Marilyn and Marilyn says, it was Cadelia, I'll tell Marilyn, but Cadelia is confirmed, it's not you. Yeah? So now that reconciliation has to happen. She has to say why it was Cadelia. Yeah? I stand with a third party who has confirmed. So that reconciliation has to, I can't sign until that thing is resolved. Either she agrees as the entity to remove that number in the records so that it doesn't appear because it's not confirmed, yeah? So that is what, it has to be a plausible evidence. It has to really be evidence you can stand for. And then I will not carry what she's written in a record before I opine. Or I'll say this record is not correct just because I didn't get evidence sufficient to support whatever they say. So yeah, so all those things you have to put them in your records. So siku ukija kusimama pale, like the way, what's your name by there? Karen. Huh? Karen. Yeah, like the way Karen was here, so that confidence is what you get after having all these things to back you up. You've already told Marilyn this is not okay. You have evidence she agreed, she removed, or she has evidence she didn't agree, and then you qualify, and then you go to the director, say, you know what, this is what happened. There's a 1 billion, 2 billion here. That someone is saying X, someone is saying Y. So all that until you get to the last day to sign. Even the director themselves, they also sign on those accounts. And we don't put a signature before they do, yeah? And then there's also head of finance. They have to also come in and say, this I'm okay. Mpaka hapo wote wakubali kuweka ile signature. Na wewe ndio kuja kuituliza ya kwako pale. So you have that confidence kwamba this is, yeah.
My name is Mary Deogratius, and the purpose of audit is to ensure that the books of account show the true and fair view, that they are free from misstatements, they are free from errors, frauds, to ensure that what is presented is true and fair.
Like Rishit said, his interviews, I really hope you don't come to me for interview because I'll be biased, my friend. I'll say you fit to come here. That's good. I just wanted to supplement a bit. It has to be within the material because it can have an error, 1, 2, 3. But what she said is true. Yeah, but only that we cap it. Yeah, so that's the...
You said you serve around 300 plus clients within a year. Have you ever done an audit and you didn't find anything wrong?
Wrong is, okay, probably let me just say wrong in your own. Yeah, so you would, okay, sometimes it's not wrong, but recommendation sort of something probably to say to improve on, right? Whether it's correction, whether it's a system, whatever. So it can happen. Over time, clients get better. When you engage them, they rectify things. And whatever. So it can happen. You can give, and most of the time, that end up to a clean report. But at the same time, we also look at internal controls. So there could be 1 or 2, 3, 4. It usually doesn't feel good. Isipotoka na kitu jamani. Yani kama vile umelipa for whatever. But it's not the purpose we're there. So within the scope of the audit, if you don't get issues, you move on. You move on, but at least you'll be comfortable with the assurance you've been able to provide to the client. But it happens to most of our clients that you may also find they don't have matters to, as you call them, wrong. Okay, it depends on the level you are. You may feel bad, you spend time there humanly, but you're actually not supposed to, as long as you've done a good job on that account.
Thank you. My name is Thomas and I have 2 questions. I believe each company or each firm has to be audited. So as PwC, we provide the external audit to different companies, but who audits you? As in Swahili say, mganga jigangi. And another question, it's just a general question. Can external auditor be an internal auditor, or under what circumstance can external auditor be termed as internal auditor?
All right, but then thank you. You've reminded me of something I wanted to supplement when you asked, and then he's the one who reminded me that I trust when you ask about definition of an audit, you are referring to an external audit because there are various kinds of audits, like an internal audit. You don't necessarily, you are referring to external audits, yeah? So I wanted to distinguish that. Thanks. All right, you asked who are auditors. So now, at times depending on the nature of an organization, some of them are public entities where the information is publicly available to anyone to see. Yeah? So they can also mention who the auditor is and whatever. But one thing, in Tanzania, it's a requirement. Companies Act for statutory audits to happen for any organization. So as being the auditors, definitely we are getting audited every single year, and we do file our audited financial statement. The only thing I'll not tell you until you come here is who is our auditor, but we do get audited by an external, reputable auditor. Yeah. I hope sija kunyima sana. Right, the last one you said. Yes, actually, like an external auditor can be an internal auditor, but we do, as a firm that provide professional service, we we usually prefer someone who does internal audits to have qualifications or certifications that align with internal audit, whether it is the top one who will give the utmost assurance or the people between here. We usually encourage the top person has to be qualified internal auditor. So you can be, if you have those qualifications, and it's also a preference here, you can opt to be, you opt not, but you can be depending on your qualification. But you don't have to attain it ukiwa mdogo sana. You can walk through that journey to get to become an internal auditor. But it's usually easier, by the way, to, and I don't know whether you've seen, actually most of the external auditor go out there, become internal auditors. I can mention like so many banks, for example, they are alumni of PwC, but they were external auditors. But it's what they also do to get internal audits certification and the likes that also supplement or helps, because also regulator like BOT says they want certain qualification beyond external audits, but you can also be external auditor and internal auditor. Yeah. Oh, Marcelina, I will. But there, she was here last year. I'm so happy to see her here. Oh, I said I'll give you last one, and Jia will give you a Q&A so that we allow for the next session to come.
Okay. Thank you so much. Should I stand? Thank you so much for this opportunity. My name is Rebecca Aya, president of this association. First of all, I have applied for PwC in assurance department, and I have done with my aptitude test. So I believe I'll be called here for managerial interview. And my question... And my question is to assurance department. You said that you are working with different banks in assurance. So how do you deal with the changes that happened for Buffer 3 and 4 in banking sector, specifically financial sector?
And I've taken notes. You are likely going to be in my team. God willing, all the best with the process, and glad to hear you have applied for PwC. Right, so, okay, so I don't know whether she complicated your life, at least mine is not being complicated. So BOT, the very key thing in banks, you have to have capital to operate, yeah? There are a number of risks. To start with, you have to be well capitalized. So this Basel she's talking about, ideally it's a regulation. To simplify, it's just a regulation that covers a lot of things within risk management of an organization, mostly financial services. But then now BOT is introducing an element where focusing on two aspects: liquidity. Liquidity is how liquid, like the way me pump to 2 billion, how liquid I am. And also to be able to settle any obligation. I can give you whatever. I'm kidding, don't come. But yeah, so how liquid you are as an organization, a bank, and also capital. So they're focusing on two things, capital and liquidity. Fortunately, they usually give a journey to financial services because they know you can't just wake up and be able to comply. So the banks were given a year to get ready